Hello, my name is Michaela Bauer, and I am presenting my presentation over myself in action research. So, who am I? Again, my name is Michaela Bauer. I am 26 years old. I am married. My husband and I have been married for going on 2 years. I am a band director in Oakley, Kansas. I teach 5th through 12th grade band. I have been teaching for 4 years. I'm originally from Shawnee, Kansas. I got my undergrad at Pittsburgh State University in music education, and I am currently working on my master's in building principal administration at Fort Hays State. So a little bit about my family. So top left corner, this is my dad. This is my husband and myself with our fur child in the middle, Hank. Hank is an American Black Lab retriever, and so we are actually big upland hunters. So he is one of our upland hunters. In this bottom right hand corner is not only myself but my husband, but my mom, and then my sister, and then future brother-in-law. And then the bottom corner over here is my husband's parents and his sister. So a little bit about me. Said I'm a music educator, but I'm extremely passionate about music. I love playing music, and because I love music so much, I got into music education because I wanted to pass that on to students. So just to explain the pictures up here. So in the top left corner, this is called a euphonium. A lot of people don't always know what a euphonium is, but it is actually a miniature tuba. Then over here in the other corner, it's me playing a flute, and that's my dog. He's intently trying to figure out what I'm doing. In the bottom left-hand corner, I am conducting at a home football game last year. And then in this is actually my senior photo. Then the center photo is my senior photo from college. My actual specialty instrument, the one that I have my degree and specialization in, is saxophone. And then over here in the bottom right-hand photo, I played up with Colby Community College. I played bass trombone with them. Even though my specialty and my degree is within saxophone, I love playing all the instruments. I can play most of them. So moving on. So what is action research? Action research can be an effective way to address and cope with difficult circumstances. Examples: this could be heavy teaching loads, large classes, and lack of materials. This enables teachers to gain a better understanding of their classroom context and develop better ways of teaching. What is the purpose of action research? This is to see if students are learning successfully or not in the classroom. If not, how to improve the learning environment so that they can be successful. And through this, we need to help identify the strengths and weaknesses of action research. There's 4 main steps, which we will talk about later in the presentation. But one of the articles I was reading really broke it down very deeply and in depth. And I really liked all these different little mini steps, I guess, that lead into the 4 main steps or phases. So to work through those quickly, it'd be reflection, know how to improve, identify the good, identify the bad, focus on the research in the classroom, how to turn success or problems into questions, identify sources, gather information, collect data, analyze the evidence, incorporate and other suggestions, design an action plan, put plan into action, evaluate the results, and communicate the findings. So again, like I said, this is a huge, deep in-depth of like 4 main phases, but I really did like how this was worded and wanted to include this. So, goal of action research. The goal of action research is for teachers to be constantly learning how to be a better teacher for themselves and their students. The purpose of this is to have a dynamic, innovative, and directly tied information to your classroom. The teacher is an active participant in the research. So, What are the main steps of action research? As I had said, there was 4 main steps, but I broke them down into smaller 15 parts. But here are the 4 main ones. So the first one is planning. This is phase 1. This would be inquiring, testing, literature review, and design process. What leads us into the second one, action, which is phase 2. This is when we actually engage in the experimentation and collecting the data. Number 3 is analysis, which is phase 3. We organize the data and discuss with peers. And leading on to the 4th one, which is conclusion, which is phase 4. This is sharing our research findings and reflecting on what we learned. So, what are the 4 main types? We'll start on this one. I've got number 1 and 2, what I believe go into them. So the first one is the individual researcher. This would be the teacher looking at what's going on in their classroom. They're trying to identify a problem and look for a solution. So one way they could do this is they could seek an outside person like a mentor to come in and maybe observe how they're teaching, observe how they're acting with their class. With that, the data would be to test out the hypothesis of what's going wrong. The audience of who needs to know is probably the teacher, so they can figure out how to better work on whatever their problem is. And a side effect of this might be that the teacher might learn some things about themselves or maybe their classroom that they didn't know before that they might not like, so they might not want to share the data with others. Yeah. The second is collaboration in action research. So this is to see if there is a problem in multiple areas, like a classroom or a department of a certain type of learning, like an English department or a math or even a fine arts. Also within the school or the district. An outside support might be a local university or a consultant company. With that, with the data, a larger team equals more methods or more ideas to figure out what's going on. The audience is the research team themselves, but the school wanting to know, or the district or the department wanting to know what's going on. And side effects. Typically, whoever that outside support is, like the university or the consultant company, they are heavily engaged in this process of research and finding out. So it's going to be more people involved to find out what's going on. So another one is school-wide action research. The school's faculty select a problem of collective interest. Outside support would be leadership and admin initiating a school-wide inquiry. The data studies quantitative versus qualitative. So are we learning quality work, or are we trying to just learn quantity work? Or maybe even both. The audience would be the faculty, students, parents, community, maybe school board. Side effects. All members need to participate. So this is to find out what the real problem is. Everyone needs to be an active participant to find out where our problem is. And then what I believe the 4th one is a district-wide action research. So the district sets a problem of interest. There is the outside supporter would be a community or maybe the school board. The data is to look at district or state exam scores. The audience would be faculty, students, parents, community, even school board, basically anyone who is involved in the school. Side effects. This might show where the school lacks skills that lie within the district and what could be their downfall. So, what is the difference between action research and traditional research? What I believe the difference is action research is the action of actively participating in the role of the research they're trying to gather, the data they're trying to find, and then reflecting on your data and what you have found. Versus traditional research is looking at other people's data, what they have found, and applying that to what you think you need. So your data versus outside data. Okay, Improving teaching with action research. For teachers to better understand how to use action research, it is a continuous long-term project, never done in just one setting. Some schools are leaning towards teachers using their professional development time to apply action research. They find a problem, have time to collect the data, come up with theories, apply those theories, and then reflect on the data. This helps teachers to develop more in-depth lessons because they are constantly reflecting on what is currently happening versus pre-planned lessons not tailored to their students in their classroom. So, common problems with action research. When doing action research, there could become ethical dilemmas. And dealing with those dilemmas promptly and properly is extremely important for not only the research, but the safety and professionalism as well. Some of the things to be aware of is, tension can happen. You need to report behavior. So if students are acting out or if teachers are not participating, using data that is not public, so putting out stuff that should not be public, and then trying to change others' ideas or perceptions about what is going on. The main idea is that we collect the data and that we figure out what is going on and figure out how to change what is happening, not change it within the data. So what's important is to find someone who can be a sounding board for when these ethical dilemmas arise, because you don't want to freak out when you realize you're having a problem and stop everything, because it's good to learn what problems you're having and how to reflect and improve your teaching for your students as well as yourself. So, evaluate current teaching with action research. Currently in my classroom, I do believe that I have always used like a basic idea of action research. Examples of this is listening to my students' feedback when they do not understand something. This could be, I can apply this in any and all band classes. When my students were working on concert music and they're just not for sure what's going on, or they're just like, hey, we're not feeling this piece, I'll be like, cool, I'm listening. Tell me what you need, and we move on. Looking at lessons and then adapting them for different classes after teaching. So an example of, I actually had this happen last week, was I did a rhythm lesson, and I realized with my first class that something wasn't working. So I, changed it, modified it, and I went into the next class and it worked a little bit better, but I noticed I could probably do this, and so on and so forth. So by the time I had taught this lesson 2 or 3 times, I had pretty much perfected it by the time I got to the last class that I wanted to practice this rhythm 6 with. So, the success of action research. What's the success? Student learning. When students get the chance to actively participate in their learning, they tend to make it more authentic and grasp the concept of what is going on. Teacher performance. When teachers see that the students are enjoying what they are learning and truly understanding their learning, that makes teachers want to find more lessons and activities to keep the students engaged. This is direct feedback for teachers to know how to improve their classroom. Critique, personal and professional thoughts. I think action research is actually a fantastic way to collect data on what is happening in the classroom, on students, and how to improve as a teacher. I also believe that I think any good teacher should be doing this on a regular basis. This will help to keep students engaged in the learning process. Some direct things I could think of is, helping my students with improving sight reading. I can find the strengths and weaknesses in the musicians as well as the ensemble. And I can use this to help pick performance pieces. So, schools' use of action research and what we have learned. From what I have seen, I do not believe that any teachers in particular have made a point to point out if they use action research or not in their classroom. But I have gathered that after reading material, a good amount of teachers in my building, including myself, use steps or parts of action research to better reflect on the learning in the classroom. I believe now with the proper steps I have learned, I am able to better use action research. Okay, so with the standards, the CLO 1.2. I believe this assignment specifically refers to what the standard talks about: gathers data, uses data, and implements the data. 4.1, the assignment helps drive the needs to figure out if the teachers are successfully using